And a very, very good evening to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Fan Forum. I am your host, Andreas. Thank you so much for tuning in with me this evening. It's been pretty crazy the last, week of football, and with everything that's been involved in, making the finals and obviously going into fourth spot. So we're gonna crack into everything today. Welcome to everybody for joining. This is the Fan CAMS, brought to you by New Homes Vic and the Hopper Bros Barbecue for all your tips and tricks and everything barbecue. Make sure you give them a follow on Instagram. Just a couple of things I want to run through before we start getting people on. And if you can, the link is in the chat. So click the link, jump on, and we'll get going pretty much straight away. Before we do, though, just a couple of things I want to say. First of all, congratulations to Nathan from the Hopper Bros Barbecue. He's become a dad again for the second time to a baby boy. So congratulations. That's awesome. So hopefully we'll have him pop around either tonight or over the next week or so. Obviously, he's got his hands full, which is fantastic. Good luck with that too. And another thing too that I wanted to talk about just really quickly, that on the 24th, so what was that, 2 days ago, it was 1 year of Black and White United on YouTube. So I looked back at my first video that I did, and oh my God, I was thinking to myself, you've got to be absolutely crazy. I can't believe I posted it, but we've come a long way since then. So before I start getting people on, there are people already jumping on, which is fantastic. I just want to get this out of the way quickly, and it is, of course, the first jab.
Shame on anyone to boot a champion.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
So my first jab, I couldn't really think of one because obviously there's been so much controversial things happening in the AFL, obviously with the Isaac Rankin situation that happened a fortnight ago, which is still going. Then you've got the whole, JSOS, which we'll touch on, obviously with people coming into the chat as we go. There's a whole bunch of stuff I could have picked, but my first jab goes to pretty much the Adelaide Crows supporters, and I'm gonna ruffle some feathers. Excuse the pun, Battle of the Birds coming up again. But Jesus Christ, these fans, right, are calling us feral. Look, granted, Collingwood supporters are probably one of the most feral up there. I reckon there's three groups, and it's Collingwood, Richmond, and Adelaide, to be honest. The West Coast are pretty close as well. But the amount of crap that I've seen on Twitter or X and Adelaide supporters becoming the victim of what was said, obviously the other week, and pinning it back on Collingwood because he was provoked and all this type of rubbish. Like, I'm not going to cop it. It's just ridiculous. But my first jab goes to them. Like, harden up. Like, you're in the wrong, but whatever. It is what it is. So we'll just have to leave it at that and go from there. Everybody who's joined, thank you so much. So far, the link is in the chat. We've got Bozza in, we've got Mellows in, we've got Mick Saka. Congratulations to Mick. Also, he's reached 100 subscribers on his channel, which is fantastic. Chris is in as well. We've got Nate from Nate Talks Pies. He's in too. So Nate, if you're in, click the link, jump on. Anybody who else is on, just get in. Yeah, and then Stepanos has just left a nice comment there saying, "We're not feral, we just hate all clubs equally," and that's 100%. I mean, you couldn't really get it more accurate than that. But what we'll do is we'll get our first guest on of the show. It's one of the heavy hitters. I'm wrapped. He's jumped on straight away, and I will add him to the stage. Here we go. This is Matt. Can you hear me,
brother? How are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
Oh, I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm not too bad. I tend to agree with what you said about the Crows fans, mate. They are going full fucking throttle. Comment today that I read on Facebook. I want Houston's head on a cheese platter in the members.
Yeah, you think he played for Melbourne? Jesus Christ, fair enough.
Exactly. But yeah, look, they've got to be proud, those Crows supporters. They've now got a homophobic person in their ranks, and they've got a bloke playing 300 games next week who's a racist. So, yeah, pot kettle black Adelaide. But no, bring it on. Can't wait for next week.
don't throw stones in glass houses, I'd say, to that one there. But
exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Look, just while I've got you on, there's so much to talk about leading into obviously the first final, and I did want to get your opinion on obviously not so much Collingwood related, but obviously with the win against Melbourne and then Port Adelaide beating the Suns, we don't have to wait now till Wednesday to see where we're going to play. Gold Coast can't make the top four. I mean, they can pretty much either finish seventh or eighth, which pushes Hawthorn to eighth spot technically, and I reckon they're probably the greatest ever side to finish eighth in the way how even this season is. How do you feel about the game being postponed and being played on a Wednesday where we all have to wait to see what the final result is of the home and away table?
It doesn't affect us, but look, at the end of the day, Mother Nature is a make-up game from Cyclone Alfred that didn't happen. But yeah, you feel for those sides because obviously Gold Coast are going to have a little bit of a less lead up. They're probably looking like they're going to head to Perth next week, so it's a long flight over to Perth, 5.5 hours from the Gold Coast. But I hate to say this, mate, I don't think the Suns are going to do too much in the finals. I think they'll be out next week, so which will pave the way for obviously the heavy hitters in the league, the top four. Hawthorn, I had a real good look at on Sunday night at the Gabba. Really impressed with what they brought to the table. But obviously just focused tonight and our fate and our road going into September, and hopefully we can be there on the last Saturday in September.
100%. So tell me how the game that we played against Adelaide a couple of weeks ago, I was pretty impressed. I thought it was a little bit of a turning point so late in the season compared to the way that we've played, obviously, the month prior. I was obviously pretty shattered that we didn't get the chockies, but at the end of the day, I mean, we got the result against Melbourne. Things went our way, so we're in the same position anyway. I think the only difference would have been if we had beaten Adelaide and then beaten Melbourne, we may have finished second to get a home final, which would have been nice, but then we would have played most likely against Geelong. So, I mean, I'm pretty happy playing against Adelaide. What are you expecting from the boys? Are you expecting a much different sort of game than what we saw 2 weeks ago, or are you thinking that at the moment it's going to be pretty close?
Oh, look, the big one for us, mate, is Jeremy Howe. Going off so early against Hawthorn. I know it's easy to say now, you get by 11 goals. He goes down in the first 2 minutes of the game. The whole structure of that game changed from a defensive point of view. You saw the boys when he went off on the stretcher, they were rattled. A bit like, obviously, round 1 in 23 when he broke his arm. But when he went off on Friday night, and I was sitting behind the goals at the Ponsford stand, and you could just see the dynamic of the defensive structure just go out of whack. Darcy Moore was out of whack. Braden Mano was going out of whack. There was a few comments back and forth that you could hear from our seats between the players. He's going to be a massive loss. Obviously, Bo McCreary he should be right. He's going to be assessed leading into the game. But look, the game against Adelaide, obviously, we've got to replicate what we did in that first quarter by getting the first 1 or 2 goals to take the crowd out of it. They're going to be absolutely feral next week. There's no two ways about it. They're going to be baying for blood. Best way to beat Adelaide in Adelaide, take the crowd out. 71 inside 50 still, I think 37. We won the clearance and the centre clearance by plus 14, plus 13. The big thing, though, people are probably going to slay me for this comment. Mason Cox, for me, has to come into this side.
Oh, I've already got it written down. I've already got it written down. I was going to talk about it.
Of the games that he plays, we win. He adds, and I looked at Darcy Cameron halfway through that third quarter on Friday night. He was cooked. He's had a long season. Obviously, Riley O'Brien is a massive influence for the Adelaide side. He had twice as many get-outs as DC on 2 weeks ago. But what that does for the structure of the side, Andre, is you can rotate Coxie in DC. You can take one of the tall defenders like Mark Keane or someone like that. Cox brings the ball to ground. That will bring in Jamie Elliott. That will bring in Bo McCreary. That will bring in, Nick Dacos at the feet of the ball. But then you can also put Dan McStay back to potentially cover the loss of Jeremy Howe. So that's what I was going to ask you. Would you just make it a straight spot for Howe and Cox then, or would you drop McStay? No, I'd keep McStay in there, put him in back, mate. And Will Hoskin-Elliott, he adds so much. He's Mr. Reliable. You know exactly what you're going to get from Will. But we know there's going to be he's hanging up the boots at the end of the season. Just give him a fucking crack fly. Let him just run it rampant in that midfield, using him as a sub if you have to. But, we're going to need some tall timber down back because obviously Phil Thorpe, Darcy Fogarty, and obviously Walker's playing his 300th game. So there's some tall timber there. Take it into consideration until it's a wet game in that second half last week. So Let's just hope it's a dry night. Let's just hope it's a good night. Let's just hope at the end of the night that the Pies are in front by at least 1 point.
Well, I thought because it was going to be wet, it was going to suit us a hell of a lot better against Adelaide. And I felt that in the wet weather, it was actually quite even and we played better when it was dry, which I actually thought was complete opposite to what would have happened. I think in regards to selection against Adelaide, like I'd love to see Mason Cox in. I think Mason Cox would be perfect. Give DC the rest, like you said. And then obviously that means that he can go down back and be an intercept marker. Cox can rest up forward. He can rotate off the bench and he can just give DC that little bit of breathing space because I still think to this day that Mason Cox is the best tap ruckman in the competition. I know Gawn's the best ruckman in the competition, but he's not just the tap, he's on the ball. He can do sort of everything, just purely tapping to advantage. Mason Cox, I mean, he's the best at it, and that's purely because of his height and his strength. I think, though, if we were to, make any changes, obviously bring Mason in for Howe, but then you've also, as you said, you got players like Will Hoskin-Elliott, Rowan Steele. Does he stay in the side? I thought Will Parker, after his game against Adelaide, he was so stiff to miss against Melbourne, and Steele came in for him. So that was a bit of a question mark that I had on selection. I'm not saying that Steele isn't worth playing or anything like that, but I just thought after the game that Parker had, you would have given him another crack. And then that also leaves someone like an Oleg Markov. And the reason why I bring him up is because if they weren't to bring Mason Cox in, or they weren't to move Dan McStay down back, these guys can play on the half-back line. Like Steele plays more of a wing type role, but you can still put him down there. Will Parker can play off the half-back as a shorter defender, and then obviously Markov, that's his spot. So there's going to be a whole conundrum of thing, and Will Hoskin-Elliott can pretty much play anywhere in the ground. That's why I do think if you were to bring someone in, it's got to be between Mason Cox and Will Hoskin-Elliott because they've both got their advantages for this game. Now, I did the ladder predictor and stuff, and obviously I was pretty close when I did my final ladder predictor, but then obviously that leads into like the final machinations and stuff like that. And if we weren't to get up over Adelaide and make our way through to a prelim final, this is where you come in. If Brisbane were to beat Geelong, we'd have to meet Brisbane in a prelim final, potentially at the Gabba, to make the big dance. Have you given that any thought, considering your position in the supporters group?
Well, two things. Just one thing before I answer that question, mate. From a tactical point of view, Josh Stacos in the middle has to start. Scott Pendlebury across half-back. We've seen that against Gold Coast. We saw it this week. Changed up the dynamics of the game. I actually spoke to the Director of Sales for the Queensland Cricketers Club, Sam McNeill, on Sunday night. I think Brisbane are just about odds on to win them, to go back-to-back. They are scary good. I spoke to one of the players yesterday. Where their downfall is Andreas, and you have a look at us versus Hawthorn versus Brisbane. Hawthorn is such a good transitional side from D50 into its attacking 50. They are the best side at lowering the eyes from that kick inside in the midfield into inside 50. When we take the game on, we are very similar. We can either go long and we're just a chaos ball. Where Brisbane's weakness is their pressure. So if you do pressure Brisbane, you can definitely beat them. We obviously know that the magical number for them is 100 marks. You keep them to less than 100 marks. Where their real weakness is, and not many people have picked up on this, is they panic when they get the ball on a quick transition from D50 into the midfield, and they just automatically go long. So if they were to lower the eyes and look at that sort of 30, 40 metre pass, 30, 40 metres out from goal, they would be a lot more dangerous side. I think Brisbane win next week, and I think they win quite convincingly. I've had a look at Geelong's draw. Geelong haven't really been tested in the last 7 weeks. I think Sydney was the only one they really got tested. But
before that, it was St Kilda at GMHBA, and that was, mate, they ran with them almost 2 months ago now. So it's been a long time. It's been a long time since they've been challenged quite heavily. That was the advantage of us playing them in a qualifying final, is that, if we bring our A game and we've got everyone together. And with that being said, our list, apart from Jeremy Howe and obviously this minor setback to Bo McCrew, who we think is going to be okay to play, we've got a pretty healthy looking list at the moment, and we've got some depth to choose from. I genuinely think we would have given them a pretty decent run in the qualifying final. So, if we meet them, I hope we do, because if we meet them, it could potentially be either a grand final or a prelim, which would be awesome. to play them. But I do think that Brisbane, this is their big chance. This is their big test, Geelong, to prove themselves against a bigger side. That's why I was hoping that we'd play them, because I think we may have given them a decent scare, because I think they've been flat track bullies just of what they've done to other sides. But on the flip side to that, you've also got to take into consideration that the way that they've played against these sides, even though they've taken the piss out of them pretty much, they've also played themselves into form, and they've got their system and structure right. And I think that's a massive advantage for them, as opposed to us or other clubs who were holding on for tooth and nail, but we're there, now we go sort of thing. So, but it's a level playing field. Have you given much thought to if we were to play Brisbane in a prelim at the Gabba? Have you about?
Yeah,
about
I do. It'd be hostile. There's no two ways about it. The little ground just across the bridge here holds about 33,000. I'll tell you what, she was pretty loud there on Easter weekend. But you fill that up with about 15, 17 to 18,000 Collingwood supporters, and she'll go off. The one thing that really rattled Brisbane in the 2023 prelim against Carlton, we were there, and we've never seen so many Carlton supporters at the Gabba, and even the players said that was an intimidating sight to run out to their home deck on a prelim final and see so many opposition fans. So Carlton have got a massive following up here in Brisbane. We've got a huge following up here. We'll pack that little shithole out, and boy, I'll tell you what, if we get into a prelim final, Brisbane are going to know they're in for a fight. There's no two ways about it.
I love that, and I also think it's the same thing too for the qualifying final. I think I know a lot of Collingwood supporters that are going up. I was trying to work out if I could go up, but I just can't take that Thursday off work at the moment. Unfortunately, if it was a Friday or a Saturday, I'd have absolutely no issues whatsoever. But that's why I sent that message.
My tip didn't work, mate.
Look, to be honest with you, I actually did get the all clear, but it was more or less just what day, but just the Thursday, which I thought, just on that too, I thought it was a bit strange that they're playing us and Adelaide on the Thursday. I thought maybe they would have loved to have had, for like a qualifying final, played Geelong, Brisbane, MCG, the first final, the home of football. You got your first final at the G. You'd get 85 to 90 there, even if though Brisbane's playing interstate side against not a Melbourne-based side. In the day, they'd still pack it out, but they've gone for the money. They've gone for the spectacle of things, and that's where Collingwood comes in. We sell seats and we sell numbers and ratings and stuff. So I totally understand that point of view as well. I'm just spewing it's a Thursday, but it's going to be a big one. I'm tipping us against Adelaide. I genuinely think that we've got these guys covered. I think that we're going to be too mentally draining for them in the lead up, and they know what to expect. But if they thought that it was going to be a big game, that round 23 game, watch out, because a qualifying final against Collingwood is going to be pretty massive. We're just going to make sure that our boys rock up on the day, because I know that the fans will. Any final words, Matt, about our season leading up to this point?
I'm tipping us too. I think that there's a couple of a little bit of deja vu here. I mean, obviously, 2023, we limped over the line to win a premiership. I want to take the older Collingwood supporters that are watching this back to 2002. This has got 2002 written all over it. Collingwood finished fourth that year. They went over to Adelaide. They took on Port Adelaide. No one gave us a chance. I was there that night. No Nathan Buckley, Paul Curie, the now vice president, racked up 43 touches. We got across the line and went into a grand final. So, I'm tipping us in a very, very tight game as well. Just for anyone that is going to Adelaide, please jump on the official South Australian Collingwood supporters group. There's an event on the Wednesday night at the Arkabar Hotel with Peter Dacos. So Dakes will be heading over, and then the pre-game festivities are at the Strathmore Hotel at North Terrace, I think from about 3 o'clock or 3:30. But jump on the Facebook page there. Andy and the boys in Adelaide run a very good show, and mate, it's going to be a phenomenal game, and we can't wait for it.
They've also, I think, at the Strathmore, they've got the whole upstairs for the Collingwood supporters,
they have,
which is pretty awesome.
So,
just on that too, there's also on the Collingwood travelling page on Facebook as well, they're organising a bus from Southern Cross. So there is one bus at the moment leaving Southern Cross Station at 1 a.m. on the Thursday, which will get to Adelaide approximately 10 a.m. in the morning, and then it's leaving pretty much 11:30 after the game to get back to Melbourne pretty much in out. I'd say take the 4 points, but it's not worth 4 points. It's a preliminary final spot, so you're going to take that prelim final spot. So there is that too. option there. So jump on to the Collingwood Facebook groups and you'll be able to see that. Matt, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been awesome having you on, and we also had you on, excuse me, earlier on during the season. So hopefully, leading into this finals campaign, we can get you back on for a prelim final, grand final, and we can be celebrating something special. But thank you so much for jumping on and for your relationship advice too. I appreciate it.
Awesome, mate. No worries. Thanks very much. Great work. Keep it up.
No worries. Thanks, mate. Cheers. All right. The next one that we've got on here, we've got a few people on, but I will get Mick Saka on. Let me add him to the stage. Mick, can you hear me, mate?
I can hear you perfectly, bro.
Awesome. How's things, mate? How you going, all right?
Very good, man. Very good. I'm quietly confident about this coming game. Looks like everything's aligned for us, and I can see us winning. My tip is that we'll win by about 20-something points.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah, I've just got this funny feeling that on a dry deck, it'll be like we killed them in inside 50s last time. If we even get like a little bit less than that, and I'm sure Fly would have worked something out against their defence that we can be more efficient up forward. And I just reckon we can get them, and I reckon they're rattled with that whole Rankin saga. And just quietly confident, and just like you, man, I really want to see the big fella Mason come in. I don't think Fly's going to honour our wishes there, man, but I'd love to see it.
Yeah,
because
I don't think he's going to do that now. Yeah, Mason's a big game player. Like if he gets that, if he gets that momentum and stuff like that going, and he gets that sort of vibe happening, then he's almost unstoppable wherever he plays because he's so unorthodox in the way that he plays. But then the risk is that as good as he can be in those big games, he can also be extremely poor. And I think there's too much of a discrepancy there for him to, like, he's just not consistent enough. But with that being said, the biggest downfall for Mason this season was the fact that we've got the three talls up forward. It's also the fact that Jamie Elliott continues to play as a fourth tall forward as opposed to a small forward. So it's not going to work in his favour. But I just think that the way that Dan McStay played against Melbourne, if you put Mason Cox in his position, Mason Cox is making more of a contest and he's bringing the ball to ground a lot more, which is allowing Bo McCreary, Jamie Elliott, Lockie Schultz to do a hell of a lot more. That's my personal opinion. I've had it from the start of the year where I just think, when Mason Cox plays, we are such a harder team to defeat. With that being said, the whole play is that everybody needs to lift, though. It's not just on Dan McStay to have a good game. But with that being said, if Dan McStay is to play forward against Adelaide and he has a good game, we win. Because his good game is he takes marks 25, 30 metres out, pretty much directly in front, just go back and kick it. And then you made a really good point when you were touching on, the forward entries and stuff. I think we had like 71 forward entries against Adelaide or whatever it was, and we absolutely blitzed them, but we couldn't get the scoreboard. We just kept on peppering their defense. Eventually, the damn wall cracks. Eventually, you get tired. The reason why we didn't beat Adelaide is just because when we made those entries, we didn't actually present up forward. The midfield didn't kick it properly into our forward line. We were going the hit and hope sort of kick, the up and under kick. And I think that's, something that we need to work on going into this game. Because if we can get that little bit right, from the midfield, the transition into the forward line, if we take that 10, 15 minutes in the last quarter that we played against Melbourne, and we take that and we play the majority of that game, and there was a comment before which I put, Stefanos set it up, if we can play the 3 quarters of that Crows game in the last quarter against Melbourne, we'll be unbeatable. If we just play the 3 quarters that we did that last quarter against Melbourne, we'll beat Adelaide. My biggest thing with them, though, is I felt that their contested ball use, and this was a feeling that I had, like, around the ball, they're not that good. And they conceded 100 points last week against North Melbourne. Now, I know North would have been last game. Let's go, blah, blah, blah. They're travelling. We've secured a top spot. Who cares, blah, blah, blah. They still dropped – North Melbourne still dropped 100 points against Adelaide. And Adelaide only won by 13, you know. So there's that in the back of my mind that thinks, hey, if we can get them around the contested play, if we can get them in the midfield transition, our defence will hold up, right? It held up pretty good against them apart from that second quarter against them the other week. You know what I mean? Like, we're a pretty good chance. Would you? I'll pose this question to you. Would you play Josh Dacos in the midfield this game and then put Dan Houston on the halfback, or would you play Dan Houston sort of more forward of the ball and then like let Josh transition into the midfield during the game?
Oh, look, you almost took the words out of my mouth. That was one of the points I was going to bring up about Josh in the midfield. But going by what the previous dude said, Pendle's in the back line doing Josh's job, and Josh in midfield. Leave Houston at the back there as well. That could be an option as well. I think it's important that, like, as much as we want to forget the last 5-6 weeks where we've been putrid, Fly, I hope that he can psychologically get these boys up and make a few changes that will give us a different look about us that will surprise the team. And that Josh in midfield, because Josh and Nick in midfield, they always find each other. They'll work well together, you know, get those handball chains going through. And yeah, I really support that decision. Don't know if it's going to happen, but fuck, I hope it does, man.
Yeah, 100%. What are your thoughts about the way that we finished the season compared to the middle of the season? Obviously, it's a bit of a disappointing way to finish, but we were able to hold on to the top four. You'd probably wish that we did finish on top and then we get a home qualifying final. But with that being said, I think the fate sort of worked in our favour, because if there was one qualifying final that I would have liked, it's Adelaide away. Probably Adelaide at the G or Adelaide away, but I think Adelaide away has just got a little bit more spice to it. Was this the game that you would have wanted going into the first qualifying final?
Look, I would have loved to have played had Geelong first up, actually. But look, I can't complain about this either, because, as I said, everything's aligned. The only thing that hasn't aligned is Howie being injured. But with them ranking out and just having that recent game against them, where, put it this way, man, we lost that game. They didn't win it, man. We lost it. And the umpiring was putrid. So yeah, the boys would be absolutely confident and pumped that they can get the result, and that's what's influencing me to say we're going to win by between 20 and 30.
Yeah, I'd love that, because that's a comfortable win, and God, we haven't had a comfortable win, I think, since Richmond. And even then, there was times of the Richmond game where it's like, well, if every 2 or 3 goals we score, they keep taking it up and scoring one. You know what I mean? Like, I would love it if it was a game like the round 1 game against Port Adelaide, where we just had it from the start. But obviously that's not going to happen. Adelaide are a class outfit. Before I let you go, Mick, 100 subscribers on your channel, which is pretty awesome, man. I remember when only a year ago when I started and I got 100 subscribers, I was celebrating, man. And to think how far I've come in a year, it's very gettable. But where you're at, the trajectory's been good. The content you got's really good. I mean, it's the same community that jumps on and stuff like that, but it's just awesome. So give your channel a plug before I let you go.
Yeah, it's the Magpie Army Chronicles. It's pretty amateurish compared to what you do, man. And I'll tell you what, I've got a newfound respect for you guys, man. Oh, man. But the thing is, like, I've always wanted to start a channel, but I never had the balls to do it. And just like with a lot of things in life, you just start before you're ready. And I did start before I was ready. Like, there's so many things I've got to learn in regards to tech and all that bullshit. But it's a slow burn, man. I'm enjoying myself. We have a laugh, and it's all good.
That's it.
Yeah.
100%. Mick, thank you so much for joining. We'll be doing another fan cams, hopefully leading up to the week of the it'll be leading up to the week of the prelim final. I've got the Sharon stand probably coming up next week, a week earlier than expected, but I'm going to have them after our game, another fan forum, then I'll do the Sharon stand, and then we'll do another fan forum with the fan cams close to hopefully a prelim final, which will be nice. Otherwise, we'll be talking about the trade period, which I don't want to talk about until the start of October, just quietly. But thank you so much for jumping on, and for everyone that's watching, make sure you give a subscribe to Mick's channel. Thanks, Mick. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thanks, bro. Catch you later.
Cheers, mate. See ya. All right. There's heaps that are jumping on now, which has been awesome. I'm going to chuck on this one here, and this is the one that I've been looking forward to heaps. It's Nate from Nate Talks Pies. How are you, mate?
Scared the shit out of me.
That's all right. They're just there in your headphones.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah, get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
It's too early for this.
That's it. How's things, mate? All right?
It's all right. I got creator's block at the moment. It's the bye week, and I'm just sitting back relaxing. I am focused already on Adelaide. It's 9 days away. I'll be fatigued by the time we get to Adelaide.
Yeah, I think I'm the same too. Like, you want to sort of talk about, where the season is and how we finished and stuff like that. But you're just looking ahead to the Adelaide game, and you're not stopping, which is good in that sense. There, it's just go, 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 go. I'd love to get your opinion on the Melbourne game, especially that first half, where I thought that we dominated possession so much and we couldn't hit the scoreboard properly. I think we were again, we were like 7 or 8 behinds or whatever it is, and they take it up, transition over the top, bang, goal. How were you feeling at the start of that game against Melbourne, especially when they, were hitting the front by 10, 15 points?
Well, annoyed by quarter time, but felt pretty good, if that makes sense. Just those misses, because I'm on the opposite side. I had to check the replay. They were just fading to the left most of the time. And the Melbourne quick transition, felt like the Freo game, where they just slowly but surely, in that one kick, just destroys our zone, get it out the back. But besides that first quarter, no issues on my end. I felt optimistic heading into that game. Wasn't confident, I think, going on a losing streak, but
I know.
It's interesting. It's either the forward 50 entries are shocking, but then it works here, but then we just can't hit it on the scoreboard. We can't get it right.
I just feel like if we just get those forward 50 entries right, some of the times then we're missing these opportunities, and it's like, hey, we've been struggling to do this for God knows how long. Can you just put it through the middle? Especially, I understand if it's a shot on the boundary or, you're in no man's land and no one's presenting forward or doing anything. But when you're directly in front and, you've got a real chance to put some scoreboard pressure on them, and this goes to most of our season. I mean, I can go back on games, the game against the Bulldogs at the start of the season. You got the first game against Carlton. You had, McStay, Schultz and Jamie Elliott missing sitters and stuff. And then, the Bulldogs game, I think it was McStay, Elliott and De Goey missed easy opportunities up front. And then, it's just, you just wish they just, and you got to take into consideration, you're going to have games where here and there are moments in a game where you miss an easy one. But I mean, the Gold Coast game was a pure example of that. After just missing those easy shots at goal, especially when they were against the play, one of those goes in, we would have had top 4 wrapped up before the Melbourne game. We wouldn't have to rely on Port Adelaide, So there's all different types of situations there. But look, to be honest with you, I was pretty happy with our first quarter performance, even though we weren't 4 or 5 goals up. I thought around the ground we were actually a lot better. But then obviously that last quarter, I mean, it took us, just that little bit in that last quarter to pull the brakes on them. And even then, it was only 6 points. But there were at times when we were in front, it felt like we were in front by a lot more. But then when they were in front, it felt like they were in front by a lot more. So we've had some close encounters against the D's, but what's your feeling going into the Adelaide game?
I feel relieved from the Melbourne win, but I feel not only optimistic, but actually confident for the Adelaide game. Drawing back memories of the 0-2 qualifying final, and even a lesser extent, the 2008 elimination final over Adelaide. surprisingly, we're undefeated, or technically undefeated in South Australia in finals. So we can win on the road in September. Just got to be able to get these areas of improvement.
I think that's a forgotten final, that 2008 one. I think
that's a roller coaster one.
Yeah, like that one there. That was such a good game. I remember I was at my dad's mates watching that game, and I don't remember too many significant moments in there because I am pushing the memory banks quite a bit. But geez, that was a real forgotten final. But that 0-2 qualifying final against Port Adelaide, I mean, there's moments in that game. Benny Johnson's tackle, Carl Stiford's goal from the car park, Leon Davis kicking the sealer. I mean, that was just one of those great games, and the way that we started that game was awesome. But I'm just hoping that we can bring that pressure against Adelaide, because I just think that if we just hit them on the scoreboard like we did in that first quarter against them last time, I don't think we're going to allow them to have that comeback in that second quarter. It was so much like the Adelaide game against Hawthorn, even just a couple of weeks prior, where Hawthorn got the jump on them. Speaking of which, Collingwood aside, who do you reckon's the biggest threat to come this final series?
Probably Geelong, because they're the only team I can see out of the top 8, top 9, where they've got a plan B, a plan C, a plan D for us.
Yeah.
Where I don't think any other team has that for us.
Mm.
So, and Geelong, they're not a bogey side, but we've had, massive clashes with them in September. They've come in on top most of the time. So
yeah,
we'd like to get a win like that against them.
Yeah,
in the prelim or the grand final.
Like a 2010 prelim where the Lee Brown bounce, something like that. You know what I mean? So that'll be pretty awesome. What's the go for this week? What's the go on your channel for this week? What have you got lined up for all your viewers?
Well, every bye week this year, I usually do just a long form video. It takes about 30, 40 minutes. This might be an hour. Planning on talking all things Collingwood. I like Collingwood final stories. So from my time, so being born late 90s, we'll probably start from the 0-2 qualifying final all the way up until the 2023 grand final. And then everything in between. Hopefully we've got some Collingwood players in the All-Australian side by Thursday night. And just a few things extra as well. Maybe talking Jack Silvani, if there's any updates on that. And maybe just do a slight or mini preview of the Whippens games this week. There's a VFLW grand final we're playing. So
yes, I did have that written down as well to mention that. You beat me to it. Go on.
We're hopefully going to get our second VFLW premiership, the first since 2019. This should be our third. 2021 we went undefeated, and then the grand final COVID lockdowns hit, couldn't play the grand final. The season was null and void, unbelievably, and we also lost the 2023 grand final. So our fourth VFLW grand final, and hopefully our second premiership. Good turnaround as well. They cleared house last year, and they actually started poor this year, but they've turned things around. And they've just beaten North Melbourne in the qualifying final. So hopefully they're able to get up again in the grand final. But this is Collingwood. There are, the collywobbles are unfortunately a thing. So
that C word, man.
It'd be such a Collingwood thing to lose in North Melbourne. But North Melbourne did finish on top, and they have looked pretty good in recent weeks, trying to get back to this point for them. So, and they're the reigning premiers as well.
You did mention a name, which I was going to talk to you about. And that name is Sauce.
J-Sauce.
Now, in the situation that he comes to Collingwood, are we going to ride the tears of the filth, or are we just going to sit here and just be silent and let his football do the talking? I want you to give me your opinion on that, or a bit of both, really.
I reckon both, Drink the tears. Whatever, straight off their face, and then we'll let the footy do the talking next year. Yeah.
I just think he just fills the hole in our backline like so well, and I really do think that he's a defender that can take, one of the big forwards, which then allows Darcy Moore to play his better type of football, and that is grabbing the ball, running, playing a bit more forward, running off your man, and being an attacking defender. That's what Darcy Moore is. He's not a one-on-one lockdown defender. I mean, he came to us drafted as a forward. He played forward as a kid, so he's used to that attacking side of things. Obviously, with Jeremy Howe, Like, I don't even know if he signed the contract, to be honest. I think the contract's in front of him for 2 years. I think it's a 1-year extension, and then obviously the second year is a coaching role at the club. I don't know if that's been accepted or not. So, Bozza, if you're in the chat, can you let me know? Champion data. But yeah, I just think I'd love to see him in the side, potentially at a centre half back or a full back, and then just allowing DC, on the flank, just doing what he needs to do. So I think it's a really good spot for us. Obviously, on the flip side too, the Bulldogs are in desperate need of a defender. So he fits their style just as good as he does ours, which is something that, we are competing. But I do think that the pool of, the big games, his mates, Houston was, I think best man at his wedding. And then you've got the Dacos boys he's mates with as well. So you've got that pool coming to the club there. Is there anyone else in the free agency market or that you think that would suit us off the top of your head?
I don't even think we're linked to anyone besides Jack Silvani. I mean, Liam Ryan has requested a trade. That's official. It'd be nice, someone to replenish for Will Hoskin-Elliott, but he's also late 20s. But yeah, maybe Rowan Marshall if Mason Cox isn't around next year. But that's all speculative and very optimistic. But
there was obviously a lot of talk about Wilkie and Windhager from St Kilda. They shut down the Wilkie thing. They shut down the Wilkie side of things pretty quickly, St Kilda. So I don't think he's going.
Rob Ross did,
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. The one that I'm looking at Windhager and I'm thinking to myself, geez, I'm not sure if he's an unrestricted free agent, so you may have to trade for him. But geez, I mean, having someone like that in your midfield would be pretty good to play that tagging role, like a really good upgraded version of like a Levi Greenwood. But and Levi wasn't that bad when he played for us. But just to have that really hard nut in your side would be awesome. How that would work with players like Ned Long, if Titch gets another contract, Sidey, Crisp, you just don't know. And then obviously Tom McGuan coming in too, which, you'd think he'd break out and play at least half the season next year, depending on what happens. Boz is in the chat here. Bozzo, can you do me a favour? Can you find out if Jeremy Howe has actually signed a 1-year extension or not? I don't believe he has. This is another one here that Windhager is out of contract end of 2002. I'm guessing that's. Can you just give me that last digit, Boz? Thanks. 2025. Okay, so he's out of contract, so that's good. Matt's put here says Sainers need to squeeze soon. So they obviously now they've got their two big guys. I mean, they're potentially going to have to release some players too. So that's going to be quite interesting. Chris has put here Harley Reid has signed. He signed until the end of 2028. So we can put all that to bed. I think, wishful thinking was that if Darcy Cameron decided to leave, then obviously there'd be some sort of, hey, here's Darcy Cameron, probably the second best ruckman in the competition. And he's potentially, a few back-ended picks and you can pass him over. But I'm glad that he signed for West Coast. I think that just puts that to bed and no one needs to worry about it. What are your thoughts on this one here? He's 33 next year. Stephen May, would you get him? Would you get him hypothetically? We know he hates Collingwood and it's not going to happen. And JSOS is a much better option for us moving forward and for the future for at least the next 4 to 5 years. But if Stephen May had 1 to 2 years left in him, would you entertain it if you were Collingwood's list manager?
I would entertain it. If he wants 2 years, you have to kiss my left and right buttock and apologise as well.
And apologise, yeah, definitely.
But if he wants 1 year, he can kiss one cheek. But I think we're linked to Jack Silvani, and I mean, I'm like you. I won't even focus on that until our season is officially over.
Yeah. I think it's just now that because we're in that period now where obviously we've got the bye week for Collingwood, I suppose. We've got the Legends game happening this week. We've got, the game on Wednesday, which thank God it doesn't affect us,
I forgot about that completely.
Yeah, so there is that game there. So there is a football thing. And I said this on my last live and I've said this in my last video. As a football fan, I hate that week off. But as a Collingwood supporter, I think the week off is the best thing for our group to obviously reconvene and get themselves and get them going again. Anything else that you want to finish the live off with? Any other final thoughts leading into the Adelaide game, into the final series?
Yeah, I know there's a bit of hostility and hatred towards Adelaide. That's in 9 days. I wouldn't focus too much on Adelaide. I don't want to be like Melbourne 2 years ago where they had hostility towards us and they went out in straight sets. I don't want to be like that this year. We got a job to complete. We've got stories to finish. We got 17 up for grabs. Hopefully it's a typical or a classic, typical, whatever you want to call it, Collingwood win, having lost Adelaide a couple of weeks ago and then beating Adelaide. But I'm not going to be a tipping man this time around, but I do feel confident and optimistic. We'll bounce back. We'll bring the pressure. We'll turn the chicken up against Adelaide. Hopefully we'll be able to sustain it for 4 quarters. Maybe they're nervous. This is their first final series in 8 years. Only a handful of players have got that finals experience.
I think that's a big thing too that you've just touched on there. That's a massive point. The fact that we've got the players that have had the experience, and I think this is where the age factor actually works in our advantage, because these players have been there, done that. Even the younger guys. I mean, you've got, I'll use Nick Dacos as an example. The guy's 22 years of age, and he's about to play 100 games for us soon, and he's already a premiership player. He's about to be a 2 or 3 time All-Australian. It's just, you've got players older, younger, that have that experience and that have that knowledge on how to dictate games and challenge. And when they're challenged, we've just got to get our vibe going, I think, and that's the biggest thing for us moving into this game. I'll leave you with one question I do want to ask you. Do you feel more confident going into this qualifying final against Adelaide than what you did going into the game a couple of weeks ago?
Probably yes. I think losing that close one, I think we've got the tools, the weaponry, the arsenal to take it, not only take it to Adelaide, but beat them. I think Adelaide, I believe in the loss you need to have, and I don't think they've had that. They're on a good winning streak. We got to congratulate them for that. They won the minor premiership. That's well deserved. But I just think they need a loss to recalibrate things, and I don't know. I think it's coming for them. I just think they need that finals adversity this year and then push on next year for it. I just think this year would be too soon for them, and I think this is where we can cash in and take them down.
Done. Nate, thank you so much for joining. Where can everybody find you on your channel on YouTube? Give it a bit of a plug.
Yeah, Nate Talks Pies. I'm aiming for 500 subscribers by the end of September or end of our season. Hopefully we get there. I am planning, this might be a bit of a long shot, but I am planning on doing a finals package of Collingwood highlights. Hopefully copyright doesn't get me on this one, but just something for you guys to enjoy in the coming days, maybe coming weeks, just some motivation heading into finals, but it's all watch this space.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Hopefully we can have you back on in a couple of weeks and we can be talking about the Pies going into a potential grand final. That'd be awesome.
I hope so. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Nice. Thank you. Cheers. All righty. I've got Kev. Kev's Magpies is here. Let's jump on. He's ready to go.
Hey, mate.
Kev,
How are you?
Good, mate. Nice jumper. We're twinning today. Good stuff.
Cheers. I love it.
That's good.
Look, I'm confident. I'm very confident we'll win. I've said at work today, we'll beat Adelaide, the lack of finals experience, the players that we've had playing for the teams like Houston's and all that, they've had the experience of playing finals. So it'll definitely give us a huge advantage. We're 3-0 against Adelaide in finals, so that's always a good thing. But yeah, I definitely do think that Adelaide, they haven't impressed me as much. They've lost the clearance battle, and they've just snuck in and won, and they've also conceded 100 points as well against North Melbourne. The team
I did say that.
Concede that.
Yeah, I said that with Mick. They conceded obviously the 100 points against North Melbourne, and their contested ball around the ground wasn't really that good. And then they put a stat on. They put a stat on Fox Footy last night when they spoke to Matty Nixon. They were saying, and I think they were like 12th or 13th in contested ball use. So ranked in the competition, and we're obviously in the top half of that section there. So I think that works in our favour really good, and I do hope that it's not a wet day. Obviously, we don't know what the weather's going to be like because the game's not this week, it's next week, so things can change till then. I'm going to pose the same question to you, Kev, that I just posed to Nate. Do you feel more confident going into this game against Adelaide than what you did a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, I'm a lot more confident because of the finals experience. Because we
Mm,
played in finals in 2020, 2022, 2023 as well.
mm,
And
mm,
even if you want to go back further, 2018 in 2019, which like to go in that I've had more finals experience than anyone. So
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
I'm definitely more confident. The fact is that we've been in final series before, even from 2006 onwards. Like we are building as a club. We
Mm,
got into elimination final, then we got into a prelim, then the semi final, then a prelim, then we won the flag, then we lost it, and then we played
mm,
like a prelim and an elimination final as well. So
mm,
it's important to get that type of experience in finals. And Adelaide, the last finals was 2017, and look what
mm.
happened then. They lost in the grand final. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, the thing is that they don't have a lot of players, obviously, from that 2017 team, obviously, into that team. Now there's a couple there, but, and I think that, that's going to be a massive thing for us, obviously, the experience and everything, too. Hopefully, we can get a lot of people traveling up to Adelaide. It is going to be a lot harder to get tickets than what it would be if it was at a bigger stadium, but that's just simply because of the fact that, it is a smaller stadium and they're going to have, you know, 80% of the crowd there too, which is going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. But one question, Kev, because I've got a few people on that I want to keep it moving fairly quickly. But who would you bring in for Jeremy Howe? Would you bring in a Mason Cox, or would you try and bring in someone like a Will Hoskin Elliott or a Will Parker or something like that?
I personally will bring in Will Hoskin Elliott. That
Mm-hmm.
would be the first thing. Look, I'm only saying it is because it's his last season. He's effective retiring at the end of the year. Our VFL season is done, so I definitely would bring him in for Howe. Um, I'll probably make a couple more changes than that. I think Mason Cox. I want to see him. He played well against Williamstown in the VFL,
Mm.
so
He
I
kicked a good
definitely
goal.
would.
He kicked a good goal on the run. He picked it up from the 50 meters out off the ground, ran through and dobbed it through. So he's got like his eye in at the moment. And he's played well the last few weeks. So I think if he did come in, it's a good move. I don't think it's a loss. But Matt just literally took the words out of my mouth with that comment. Weather dependent. Will Hoskin Elliott if it's wet, Cox if it's dry, and I think that's pretty much spot on. I think if it's not raining, you bring in Mason Cox, so he can do most of the tap work. He doesn't have to do too much of the ground ball. If
Yeah,
it is a
that's
wet weather, you're going.
yeah, yeah. I was going to say like Mason Cox would actually help out more of a ruck than you would having McStay in the ruck. I
Mm,
feel at times when we've put McStay in the ruck or we put McStay in the back line and Membry as that backup ruck that we're losing the hit outs in that area, and we're just relying on trying to get the clearances, or we're trying to like lock the ball in that 450 with Mason Cox. You know that he's going to win the hit outs. He will
mm,
take those marks. He can kick those goals. He's a tall option in the state of where we can kick as a full forward. You might check he's not like a tall key forward. He's not like a Mason Cox. He's not like a Sam Darcy where you're 200 centimeters tall and you can clunk those marks. And if you're not marking, well, you can bring the ball to ground. So that's where I would have Mason Cox in, and I would have played him again against Melbourne. Maybe a good decision not to play him, but against Adelaide for sure you need him, considering that Adelaide are tall in the forward line, but they also got a taller back line as well, and
mm.
you can
Oh,
expose them
yeah,
for that.
I think that just depends also on the weather, but I do agree in theory with what you're saying. Kev, I've got to get the show moving. Thank you so much for jumping on. Thank you so much for your support and everything for the channel. That's awesome. Also, where can we find you? Because you produce a little bit of content yourself. Where can everybody find you on
Um,
YouTube?
Camps and Magpies on YouTube. That's where I do my previews, reviews. I even do reviews of VFLW, the VFL, AFLW as well. Trying to get more interviews with footy players as well. So
Yeah,
I'm
good.
in the works of trying to sort something out with that.
Hmm.
And that's maybe for me to open myself up more to that and try and
Hmm.
get like what's it like to be at the club, you know.
Yeah.
The simple questions, how your footy career started, you know, how do you feel playing for a big club like Collingwood? Because nobody does that, you know.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. But you just keep pushing, and then obviously things come, obviously over time. But it's really good to see what you're doing, Kev. Thank you so much for joining. We'll move on, but we'll definitely get you back on during the final series. Thanks heaps for coming on.
Thanks, mate. Have
All right, I've got another one here. Chris has joined in. How you going, mate?
How you going?
Yeah, good, mate. Sorry to keep you waiting a lot longer. There was heaps of people on there.
Yeah, thank you for the message on Facebook last night telling you you had a live stream.
Oh, yeah, no, all good, all good. So how are you feeling going into the final series, mate? How are you feeling going into this game against Adelaide?
Yeah, confident. I think we can beat them. I don't without Isaac Rankin playing. I think
Yeah,
I'm very confident.
100%, 100%. I was going to ask you too, mate. What's the form slump that we've had? Obviously, going into the last 5 weeks of the season, it was win, then the 3 losses, and then a win. Do you think that's going to affect us? Obviously, going into this game against Adelaide, or going into the final series, or do you think that pretty much it's a new season from there?
New season. I think it's a new season going into this. I think we can beat Adelaide.
Yeah. How do you think we can beat them? Like, what's your take on it? Like, what's the main thing that you reckon that's going to help us defeat the Crows?
Oh, I think we've got the better forward line. If Jamie can have a line of my check, maybe McCrory, but Degoe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a midfield can get on top with the Dacos brothers.
Yeah, nice, 100%. Do you? I'll pose the question to you too, because I think it's a good one to ask a lot of passionate Collingwood supporters in regards to this. Do you feel more confident going into this game against Adelaide than what we did a couple of weeks ago?
Of course, like Kev said, they haven't been in the final since 2017, so we've got over experience. So I think we can beat them for sure.
Wow, that's awesome. What's your whole stance on the JSOS side of things? Because I'd love to get your opinion on this. Do you think that?
I think Savani would be a great pickup for us. He would, we needed another defender. Like our defense has been struggling this year. We needed another defender. Like he would be good for us.
Mm-hmm. 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 And what changes would you make for this game against Adelaide?
I would bring in Mason Cox, and I would consider maybe dropping McStay. He has not been playing that great. Bring in Cox, and maybe drop McStay, and then maybe bring Parker in too.
Yeah, I think the only thing is with this, and I'm in agreement. I was there against Melbourne, and I saw the way McStay was playing, and I just thought, oh, geez, Mason Cox would be so much better in this. And I'm not a person to sit there and dox our players, because at the end of the day, I know they're putting in the effort, but I just think on recent form and maybe just confidence levels, you've really got to play Mason Cox. Mason's beaming of confidence in the twos, where I think McStay has just lost a little bit. But then on the flip side, you've got to, like I see as well, McStay took a mark in the last quarter. It was a clutch mark, and it was a clutch goal, and it pretty much put us in a position where we were going to win the game from there. So, he only needs those moments, but I just think it's a big forward like that. He should be our number one. He should be the one that dominates. He kicks 5 or 6 goals a game. But, the flip side to that is you got to have the midfield entries and stuff like that. How good's Degoe going? I mean, he's just through the midfield against Melbourne. He was fantastic. It's so good to see him playing the type of football that he is. Is there anyone else that you think's a bit of a watch for this game? Who would you like to see in this game against Adelaide have a blinder?
I would love to see McCrory have a blinder, and like you said, Degoe, and maybe Nick Dacos.
Definitely. All right. Well, Chris, thank you so much for jumping on. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for the message about my dog last night. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, so I understand that. You had to put your dog down, man. That's awful. I've been in the exact same position as that. a while ago. So I understand what you're going through. And if you ever need to talk to anyone, open up about it, mate. You've got a really good community on this channel and other channels also with Anthem, Pies, Footy, Swoop, and everyone. So make sure that if you need to, you can have a chat and stuff like that. But I really do appreciate you jumping on tonight, and hopefully we can see you later on in the final series as we lead to a grand final.
Thank you.
No worries, thanks. All right, so there's been a whole bunch of stuff up. There's also a comment here from Peter, which I wanted to quickly just touch on. He goes, to say drop McStay says you don't understand the game. McStay can go either end of the ground. I understand that 100% about McStay, that can play either end of the ground. But my theory on that is, though, his confidence levels against Melbourne and probably the last couple of weeks, like you could tell there's something there. He's just not playing to his strengths. And you got someone like Mason Cox that can do his job in the forward line, which then allows Darcy Cameron to have a rest down back when Mason Cox also pinch hits up forward. I just think it's a no-brainer. With that being said, and I didn't get to finish my point just before, you don't want to make too many changes. So I understand the hesitancy because you're now going into finals and you don't want to have too many players and stuff like that. Obviously, doing too much chops and changes unless you need to. So, for example, you got the Jeremy Howe injury. You're going to have, a change there, which is what you want. If we have an injury, we have a cover with McStay. That's a good point. Fair enough. And this is a good open discussion. I love it. I love having the debates because I tell you now, I mean, you don't want to be someone in Collingwood selection table. And I thought this would be a year where you'd have a settled side. It'd be stiffer players to get in. What's your best 23? But and I think this is where I really like the fact that in 2024 we were depleted. The last couple of weeks of the season, we were playing players out of position. We were playing players in dual positions. Whereas this season, we haven't had to do that too much. We've got the depth and we've got one man out. The next soldier comes straight in, which is awesome. The only thing, my issue with the whole thing is that it's just taken so long, to get a settled side. And now we're going into the first week of the finals. And I don't think there's been one game this year where we've had the same side play 2 weeks in a row. If there has, then I would love to know, but I haven't seen that. I did want to also just quickly touch on before, if anybody else wants to jump on, I'll put the link on there one last time before we finish up tonight. It's been a big one, so I'll put that on there. If anyone else wants to quickly jump on, please jump on. But the one that I really did want to touch on quickly, and we spoke to a few people about it already, is just the whole JSOS thing. Now, I know that I get a lot of inboxes from Collingwood supporters and stuff and saying, oh, he'll be great. And I get a lot of inboxes from other Collingwood supporters saying, oh, no, I don't want the Carlton player outside and stuff like that. But I just think that what he's able to do and for us in that time is, and especially now leading into next season, and what that allows us to do with Darcy Moore is going to be absolutely massive. I do have someone who's jumped on, and I was wondering if he was going to jump on, but he is here, and I'm going to add him in right now. Sean, can you hear me?
Yes, mate. What's happening?
What's with this top, man? Everybody's wearing this top tonight. I love it. How good is it?
No, it's fresh.
That's grouse.
Yeah, I got it from the AFL store. Yeah, no, sorry about that. I was waiting in the wrong studio.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Well, you made it. That's great.
Yeah.
What have you got for me tonight?
No, look, I've actually been listening on the YouTube side of things. So got a couple of things for you.
Go.
I love the Cox idea.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to float potentially a defensive forward mode to play specifically on Worrell, just to stop Worrell or Keane, one of the two. So I'm thinking this is left field. Like, I know he hasn't played for yonks, but potentially an Ash Johnson. Specifically just for a defensive forward who can actually take a big grab as well. I know Hoss can do that as well, so he's probably next up. But I was talking about it today.
So you're thinking just a similar role to the whole Billy Frampton in the grand final and what he did on Harris Andrews just to lock down their main defender.
If we can negate one of them, then it's literally 2-on-2.
Yeah. See, I think I agree with that 100% on what you're saying. I don't know if Ash Johnson is that person. I think a Will Hoskin Elliott can definitely do that, but I see the theory in your mind, and I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
Either that, or if we are going to go deep and we're going to have a lot of injuries, we play Cox out of the goal square and just say you don't leave the 30-meter arc. And with that, they have to accommodate for him anywhere where the ball is. Just don't get outmarked. That's the only thing you have to do. Get the ball to ground.
If you're not going to mark it, pretty much, because he can draw. And this is the thing, and this is I've spoken. I think I was speaking to Nathan from the Hopper Bros about this. If Cox plays, and when he's up forward, if he can even if he takes a main defender, he's going to be almost a whole foot taller than him. So then you think, if the delivery is at eye level or just above his head and he puts his arms out, 9 times out of 10, he's either going to mark it or he's going to get a free kick for chopping the arms. Now, I know we're Collingwood. We never get a free kick directly in front of goal. It's either down back or it's somewhere in the car park, right? But we've just got to, if you bring him in, you've got the opportunity to create the contest, which is, again, Matt, stop reading my mind. He goes, it creates a contest that equals pressure. Like it's just, it's just, go on.
You know what I really liked about the last 2 games we played, though? He had 2 or 3 different modes, but what I really liked was when we're playing well, we hit the 45s. So it's nice to go down the line, but what I seen that switch and what we're talking about with the last quarter against Melbourne, the switch in mindset was like, okay, what's on my diagonal instead of what's straight. So literally completely changed the look of the game and then made the MCG so big. We can do that in Adelaide, against Adelaide. And it makes us so much more unpredictable against Adelaide, which all of a sudden they can't set up properly.
Well, it's just we did it in that last quarter against Melbourne. We did it, a few times against Adelaide in Adelaide, albeit it was a really tight slog. And I've said on one of my other lives or other videos that it was a B grade game against Adelaide, but it was an A grade contest with the way that it was played. And I think, going back to like when me and you were at the Hawthorn game, for example, we couldn't do those 45s. We couldn't. We were just kicking, hit, and hope. And the structure was completely gone. But the difference between that Hawthorn game and that Adelaide game was if we had played anybody else that day again that we played against Adelaide, we would have beaten them. Anybody, the way that we played that game, we would have beaten them. I just feel as if that the game against Melbourne, we sort of maybe took half a step sideways, not backwards, sideways, and we just had to get a few things right. But then when the time came and we needed to go, we went and we created those opportunities. We did the short 45 switch, and then we went down the line a bit longer down the ground. We didn't cut into the middle too quickly, like we were, those really dangerous, kicks, those kicks that were you'd think that you would do more forward of the ground. We were doing sort of towards the back 50, and it was just turnover after turnover, and they were walking it in against us when we played against Hawthorn. Against Melbourne, we did what we needed to do in those small little bits in the last quarter, which got us over the line. If we can carry that into this Adelaide game, as well as the way that we played against them, I think we're a really good chance. Do you feel, and I'll pose a question to you that I posed to the others, do you feel more confident going into this Adelaide game than what we did a couple of weeks ago?
I think the biggest elephant in the room is Dacos has got help. Nicky's got help now. Geordie's back. His 26 touch game, that is explosiveness against Adelaide's midfield, which is pretty pedestrian, I feel anyway, especially around the ball. Their contested ball is not great. Their back line has held them up, and their efficiency going forward has held them up to this point. So I feel we're in a better spot now than when we were coming up against them, because we're kind of in no man's land when we come up against them the second time, sorry.
Yeah.
Where we're like, who are we? What's our
Yeah.
identity?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I feel like the cogs turned in that game, going, okay, this is who we are. And then in the Melbourne game, it's like, okay, we're able to win off who we are. And now we kind of know where we're going again.
We're just going to sustain it for obviously a longer period of time and take opportunities, like I was saying before. I mean, how many times, like especially in that first quarter, we just dominated them in the first quarter. We just couldn't hit the scoreboard, and then they would just take.
If we jump them again, we won't let them get back in this time.
Yeah, you allow for them. You know, they're going to. If we jumped them again, they'd score a couple of goals, obviously, and put the pressure back on us. But I want to see a performance like one of the best performances that we had of the year was obviously against Hawthorn that first time that we played against them. But the second time the game against Sydney at Gather Round, where Sydney were just pressuring us, and then we were able to answer to all the challenges. We got in front. We didn't. They started getting a couple of goals. They got a bit of a run on, and this is obviously before Sydney had their big sort of the down patch in the middle or whatever. So they were a bit more up and about. But it was such a mature Collingwood performance, and I want to see that at the Adelaide Oval again. I feel as if they can produce that. The point that you made, obviously, saying that, after the Hawthorn game going into the Adelaide game, we were in no man's land. It did feel like that, but there was still confidence going in there because we played well at Adelaide Oval. We played well against Adelaide. That was that, they won't do that again. It'll turn. And our feeling was right. And I'll tell you, if we had won that Adelaide game, the confidence going into this game would be through the roof. Like we'd be getting ready for prelim final tickets pretty much, if we had won that game against Adelaide thing. What's your tip? How do you think we'll go? What's your honest margin?
I generally do think it's a 10-point either way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it's been for a long time.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've lost to them for a long time, but 10 points either way. Hey, what about, I'll give you a hypothetical. We're going for the trade season stuff.
Oh, yes, do that. Yeah.
Okay. So I know we've signed Smith and Steen for another year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Coxie does get the list at the end of the year if it happens. Would you rather Ned Reeves or Rowan Marshall?
Oh.
One's younger than the other with bigger upside, and the other one, you know what you're going to get.
I'd probably say Marshall because I've probably seen him. I like the way he plays, but I wouldn't be if we got one or the other, I wouldn't care. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably take Marshall. I feel like he's a bit more athletic. He's a bit more. I think he's a bit more mobile than Reeves. Where Reeves is good, but I think he'll just be just a tap ruckman, just a basic tap ruckman sort of thing. I think Marshall's got better groundwork, and I think we are due now for the Brodie Grundy 2.0. I'd love to get a young ruckman the pre-signing of that stupid contract that cost us so much, before Brodie signed. If we can get someone like that into the side, and I know they're expensive, I know they're hard to find, but I think that'll get. I think that'll be good for us. But with that being said, we haven't really given the other two guys a fair go. I think Steen's the one. I think Oscar Steen's the one that's going to come in and not play every game next season, but I think he's the one that's going to come in next season and make an impact. And I also think the same as a midfielder. I think Harry DiMattia is that person as well. I think they come in next season and don't play every game but stamp their authority. And then pretty much from 2027 onwards, when you start to see Sidey, Pendles and stuff that go, these are the kids that will take us forward into that new time. But for your hypothetical, I'll probably take Marshall. What would you do?
So I'm thinking I know what I'm going to get with Marshall, so it's a pretty safe bet. Reeves is kind of untried, like Cameron was when we got him. So I'm leaning towards Marshall. But yeah, I'll say Marshall because I feel like he's been burnt a bit, and he'll be playing scorned, which is fantastic when a player is just completely focused on success and proving everybody else wrong. I'm better than TDK, and I'm going to show you why.
Look, to be honest, I don't think TDK is just off topic for a second, and just for if there's any Carlton supporters lingering on YouTube, lying in bed, watching us on your phone, I don't think TDK is anything worth what St Kilda have offered him. I don't think he's even worth half of that, to be honest. I think he's I know people will say we'll jump down my throat, but I think he's a $600,000 to $700,000 player a season at best. I think Darcy Cameron is a 10 times better ruckman than TDK is. I think TDK is still a good ruckman, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's what St Kilda I don't think he's worth the money St Kilda are paying for him. And to be honest, the best thing to do for Carlton, and I know it's not a Carlton channel, but I've got to say the best thing for them to do was to get rid of him, because the amount of money St Kilda are paying for him, they'll get themselves a top 5 draft pick now, and that compensation pick is going to be massive for him. I was going to mention something to you as well, but Peter's just sort of beat me to the punch here. He said keeping Allen is going to be a problem with the lack of game time, and he can go to the West Coast and play every game. Do you think, obviously now coming into the end of the season, we've obviously got finals to worry about, and finals is probably the most important thing on our mind at the moment, but the second that our finals campaign ends, whether it's the last day in September holding up the cup, or if it ends in 2 weeks and we go out in straight sets, the trade period, the delistings and everything pretty much is going to start straight away right afterwards. There's going to be no time wasted. Would Allen be trade bait in your eyes, or would you give him another year to see how he goes?
Or no, trade bait. I think. How old's Liam Ryan?
I think he's 30.
Okay, yeah, no, that's not a good trade. If they're willing to give us a younger up and comer, who's going to slot into our 22, yeah, 100%. If it's not going to be valuable for us, then no, he can develop another year and hopefully he cracks into the squad. Would you give Jaden Laverty a lifeline?
Oh, I genuinely don't like him. I genuinely don't like. So Liam Ryan's 28, turning 29 this October. So
he's in our window.
So yeah, he's in the thing. But I don't know if he wants to come home. It depends if he wants that sort of that coastal living. I'm sure Geelong will offer him a farm and to do whatever he wants there. But yeah, but I think. Yeah, I don't know. Allen's definitely trade bait. What was the question? Sorry, I just got distracted by another comment. What was that last question you just asked me?
Laverty.
Laverty.
Actually, we'll skip Laverty.
So no to Laverty. No to Laverty. I'd rather no. I don't. I don't like his face. I don't like the. To be honest, I think he's just that every time I've watched Essendon play, and he's in defence, apart from the first 3 quarters of Anzac Day in 2023, where he looked really good when Essendon were like 30, 40 points up, I haven't seen him do anything really. And I don't know, maybe there was too much pressure on him because of the injury list that Essendon had. And you know that, like, as much as I hate Essendon, they got decimated with injuries this season. Like they were, they were basically what Richmond happened to Richmond last season. So I understand that. And obviously there was a lot more pressure on him in the back line, but I just, no. See, Stephanos has put here, no Essendon rejects, but then Fremantle got an Essendon reject and they've turned him into probably the most informed forward of the competition.
Well, he's an unrestricted free agent this year. Paddy Voss.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've got a plethora of forwards at the moment, and I'd rather put my eggs in the Charlie West basket to develop him, I think. And you've also, don't forget, we've got Cochrane in the back line too, who's going to come forward as well.
Well, what about if the opportunity arises for either Lever or Wilkie?
Wilkie, I don't think will happen. I genuinely, from what I've been hearing and from taking on face value what Ross Lyon said, I don't think Wilkie will leave. I think Winhager from St Kilda is the most likely one that will leave. And was it Lever that you were talking about? Is that the one you said? Yeah. If Jake Lever wanted to leave, I think the Western Bulldogs. So this is the domino effect, and I was going to save this for another one, but I think for a video. But now that we've said it, we'll be talking about it. I think if JSOS comes to Collingwood, which is 100% in my mind happening, and from what I've been told, it's a done deal. So JSOS comes to Collingwood, that means the Bulldogs are still looking for a defender, and I think the lever to the Dogs on a 3-4 year deal so he can finish his career off there is massive. I think that complements their team perfectly, and it's probably the difference of them not making the finals this season. So yeah, that's my thought there. I just want the Sauce thing to hurry up and happen, and I don't think there'll be an announcement on the JSOS side of things until
we're out.
Until we're out of the finals, or if we win it after that too. There, you know, I'm going to let you go because I'm going to finish this off. But thank you so much for jumping on. Just quickly before you go, I'll just let people know. So I met Sean during my holiday. I was overseas, and Sean actually followed my page and the YouTube and Instagram. And then I said, was it Plaza Mayor or was it Las Rondas, wasn't it? In Barcelona. Yeah. He was the only one walking around there in a Collingwood top. So I went straight up to him, and he's like, "I'll follow you on thing." I'm like, "Oh, this is mad." So that's it. And then we ended up going to the Hawthorn game. But thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we'll get you back on before we win the flag this year.
Definitely. Alrighty, bud.
No worries. Thanks, buddy. Alrighty, we're going to finish up now. Just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's jumped on. We have had a huge one tonight. We've had heaps of people jump on. We've had, at one point we had almost 60 people in the chat and stuff like that. So thank you so much. Just want to say thanks to our sponsors, the Hopper Bros Barbecue, and also New Homes Vic for everything that you guys do. We will be doing potentially another a live stream for the game next Thursday. We will have another live happening next Tuesday, and then obviously we'll have some videos and stuff like that that'll be posted up during the week. We've obviously got that void sort of period now where Collingwood's not playing this week, and we'll just keep our eyes on the Gold Coast Essendon game, and then we'll know. Collingwood have reposted also their training times. I did say it in one of my videos, in my video the other week, that they had the training times on and then they took them off. We are training tomorrow at the AIA Centre, and then we are training on Friday. I think the training session starts at 11 tomorrow, and then it's an early one at 9:20 on Friday. So if anybody's wanting to get down to training, it's now back on the website, far as I saw. Also, some other guys posted it on their channels as well, on their Instagrams. I'll find it and I'll post it on mine. If you haven't already liked it, the Instagram, please give us a follow. I'm also on Twitter or X as well, and I'm ruffling heaps of feathers for these Adelaide supporters. I just think it's quite funny, even if we lose. Big deal. I think Boz said it's still not on the website, but I can tell you now, I do have word. They are training on Wednesday, and they are training next Friday again. So anything leading up until the week of the game, I believe the captain's run will be on next Wednesday, from what I'm hearing, and then they'll fly out on the Wednesday. There'll be no training for the boys in Adelaide. They'll pretty much just, so if anybody here is from Adelaide watching, there'll be no Collingwood training in Adelaide. And also jump onto all the Collingwood groups. There's also a travelling Collingwood group on Facebook, and there is a bus being organised for people who have tickets to the game, or when they get tickets, I think they go on sale tomorrow for the club members and AFL members. You will be able to get, Thursday they go on sale. You will be able to catch a bus from Southern Cross Station at 1 o'clock in the morning on the Thursday, and then you'll be able to get back to Melbourne by 10 a.m. on the Friday. So it's pretty much just in, game, out, and it looks pretty decent. Make sure you guys drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Call it as you see it. And as always, go the Pies.